Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host Scotty McCoy, and boy do I have a surprise for you. I have on Zoom right now my guest. He played Bannon in Remnants and is a co-writer on Phobias, among other projects that we'll get into. Tommy Touhey. Hey Tom, how you doing?
Doing well on a snow day. How about yourself?
Doing good. It's a nice day to have, some hot chocolate and everything.
And the
What can you
obligatory
do?
viewing of The Thing. You have to watch The Thing during a snowstorm.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't agree. I can't argue with that. So the first question I have for you is, how did you get your start into the indie film scene?
All right. So, believe it or not, this goes all the way back to kindergarten. Myself and about three or four other guys in Miss DePaulis's class. I am allowed to use her name, by the way, Gina DePaulis. She had like a Super 8 camera laying around, and me and the other guys just got together and did some impromptu little video, which, funny enough, made it into the archives of the school I went to.
Nice.
Then sixth grade, I was in a local theater production again with Miss DePaulis. She's like, I guess, my muse, so to speak.
Mhm.
But I really kind of dropped out of acting and everything else, just doing little things here and there through college. I did have a radio, television, and film degree, so there was that. And I worked very briefly in Philadelphia radio as an online producer, which might sound cool, but it's really the guy who just screens phone calls. And at the time back then, you hit carts for the commercials. So
Right.
I wasn't really doing like production work. Fast forward to about 2005. Paul Yoder, guy I went to high school with, good friend of mine, went to college with,
Nice.
calls me and he says, "Hey, I think it was was one of the conventions. It might have been Horrified. I'm not really sure. I can't remember."
Mhm.
But he says, "Hey, I'd like you to check out this convention." And at the time, I was like, "I really don't want to do this, man. I mean, that's kind of a weird scene. It's going to be people and facial tattoos, and everybody's going to be wearing black." And I was right, except they turned out to be the best
Mhm.
people I have ever met. The entire community, as far as horror goes, are the most inclusive, warm, welcoming, and
Mhm.
giving people. So I was genuinely happy about that. So
Mhm.
as we're walking through, the celebrities and the guests, Kane Hodder, guys like that,
Mhm.
I noticed that there was a pretty robust indie community. Everybody was, selling their movies. And I said to Paul, I said, this day and age with all the technology, we can make a really good movie for about 30 grand. And he says, no, it would take about 300. And I said, no way, man. So it became kind of a dare. And I got home that night and I went to the internet and I did some really quick research and I found a guy named Gary Ugaric out at the time. I think he was in Baltimore, and he was
Mhm.
doing a movie called Deadlands 2, which was being filmed in Leitersburg, not too far away from where I live.
Mhm.
So I called him cold and I introduced myself and I said, "Hey, I noticed that you're looking for producers on this movie, which means investors." I said, "I'd be happy to do that, but going to need a small role in the movie." And I'd been in the Army, by the way, from graduation to college, and I was in criminal investigations. I was a CID agent. So I told Gary, I said, I'm interested in doing something, but I'm going to have, some on camera time as part of the deal. And he says, "Yeah, I've cast everybody." I said, "I got it." I said, "I'm not a pro actor. I understand, but I'm competent enough to deal with some lines here." And he
Right.
says, "Well, I need an evil government agent." And I said, "What a coincidence. I am an evil government agent. I don't even need to act." And so myself and another high school buddy, Mike Hyatt, showed up on set for, it seems like it was an entire year of weekends of filming every Friday and every Saturday night until Deadlands 2 was finally released. And that kind of set me off on the path that I am now, which is just like I did with Gary. I called him. I was like, "Listen, I'm not asking for a starring role. I'll be happy to do background. I'll be happy to do anything."
Right.
And then if I am fortunate enough to get a call back from that particular director or producer, then I go with whatever they tell me to do. The
Right.
object is show up, do a solid job, better than they would expect, even if it's, again, a 3 seconds on camera for background. And then
Mhm.
through that, hopefully progress to bigger and better roles in the future with
Right.
the same directors. So far, that's worked out really well for me.
Awesome. That's great. And it's funny because for those that don't know, which I'm sure a lot of them won't know, is that at Creature Feature that I actually met you there for the first time. That's actually where we actually met and got in touch with each other, was Creature Feature. And
That
I
is
met, of
correct.
course, Matt Burns, and I knew Noelle Berger prior to this, and Matt Burns I knew prior to this, but I didn't meet them at all. That was the first time I met them, and same with Bobby Heckman. And
Right. Yeah.
yep. So Bobby Heckman with Victim No More, Noelle Berger's in a lot of projects. I interviewed her already on my podcast, and I have Matt Burns coming on next week. And of course, you are in Remnants, and you're a co-writer on Phobias, and you have a lot of other projects. And like you said, the indie community is really it's a tight community. And I don't want to go. And this isn't a question on my thing. I was actually thinking about it. I thought you would be the perfect person to really discuss this with. Obviously, and I'm not going to go too far into it. Oh, I'm bleeding right now. But I have but there's a couple bad eggs
Yeah.
that are in the community. Obviously, they take people for granted for their hospitality and their generosity. And we recently had one that was exposed. I'm not going to really go into it, but there are now a lot of people that have donated to past campaigns and that would have helped future campaigns. And for those that don't know, indie films, they are definitely funded. They're not cheap, and they take a lot of time and a lot of money to get them made. And in order to get them made, you have to have backers, and that's where Indiegogo and crowdfunding comes into play.
Hmm.
And a lot of people are hesitant to donate now because of one bad apple ruining it for all the good eggs, you know what I mean? And so the question I guess I got for you is how can, like, do you have any advice on how people can still donate to Indiegogo campaigns and be secured in knowing that, not everybody in the indie scene is a bad apple?
Right. Well, first of all, I think the majority of people in the indie scene are incredibly fantastic people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did Deadlands in 2007. I think that's when it was released. I think we started filming in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still in touch with Gary after all these years. I'm in touch
Right.
with almost everyone I've ever worked with, and people I haven't worked with, obviously, that I've met, like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So the indie community being as tight as they are, I think in the particular situation you're talking about, what happened is somebody that was close to a lot of us vouched for this project
Mm-hmm.
unknowingly. And
Right.
so once it was exposed as potentially fraudulent, then that word traveled equally as quickly.
Mhm.
I'm not on the receiving end of the finances for any of the projects that I'm in, so I wouldn't really be able to comment whether or not we're taking a hit because of this.
Right.
But I did post this morning actually, and I said, there's two things I would bring up. One is, don't let this one issue sour you, because trust
Right.
me, you're going to meet the same type of people in Hollywood. Okay.
Mhm.
Two is real simple: do your due diligence. Okay.
Mhm.
Research, research, research. If
Mhm.
you take it on face value without doing that research, that's where you get into trouble.
Right.
And so my advice is to anyone who's looking to fund a film is exactly that. Reach out and contact people. And if you see really, really big names attached to a project, that can be a little bit of an indicator,
Mhm.
because you'll be able to go to that individual's Facebook, you'll be able to go to that
Yep.
person's IMDb, and you might see, that they are indeed attached to that project.
Mhm.
If you don't
Yep.
see it, that's when you kind of
Right.
shake your head a little bit.
And one thing that my dad always said this is that if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
Like this project, not to go, like I said, not to really go into that because that project's now in the past. But like it had really big horror icons involved and even had it on their IMDb, but they didn't know about it because he just attached it to them. So all like,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, yep. So always reach out to who you need to reach out to. Always, I was attached to the project, not financially, but he
Hmm.
approached me and asked me if I wanted a role in it because of my role in Samhain. So he asked me if I wanted to be a part in it. He told me I filmed in Pennsylvania, and I live in Maryland, and I visit Pennsylvania frequently. And he asked me if I wanted to be involved. He told me he films in Pennsylvania. Well, I get added to that chat group, and I found out they're filming in California next month. Like, how am I going to get to California, get off work, make my travel arrangements, which he didn't even offer to pay? Like that, all that was just adding up suspiciously. Like it just didn't add
Interesting.
up. Yeah. So I reached out to Carl, and Carl reached out to Amanda, and Amanda reached out to Noelle and Matt and everybody else, and we kind of like, got in touch with some of the actors that were involved with this project, and they came out and said they weren't part of it. And that's the thing. So if you really want to find out if a project is legitimate, like I said, Noelle Berg is a good egg. I could vouch for her and Matt Burns,
Mhm.
yourself, me,
Thank you.
like all of us, like we would know if a project is legitimate. And if we don't know, we can lead you in the right direction on who to contact.
Right. The guys that you mentioned, especially Matt and Noelle, both of whom I've
Mhm,
worked with, had the pleasure of working with,
mhm,
and definitely consider Matt a close friend.
mhm.
Yeah, I might not know about it, but definitely those guys will, and
Yes.
I'm more than happy to reach out and help anybody that I can for any reason.
Exactly. And like I said, if we can't figure it out, if we don't know the answer, we're not just going to give you an answer to make us look good, because
Right.
eventually it will make us look bad if you end up doing something that you shouldn't have done. And like
Yeah.
we all make mistakes. We might think it's a good project, but it might not be. But also a part of Indiegogo campaigns is not all of them that fall through are scams neither.
Right.
Sometimes, projects they just fall through for whatever reason, and it might not even be a bad reason. It really is a gamble no matter the project, but if you know the person, you know that they had good intentions or the evil intentions of making it, and that's where Noelle and Matt will come into play to let you know that this person is a good egg. They're
Right.
gonna do what is the right thing, and if they can't get it done, then that's it was just a coincidental type of thing.
Yeah, reputation is huge.
Yes.
It's big because I don't know of anybody in the independent, horror film
Hmm.
circles that we travel in that's getting rich out of this. We're all doing it
Right.
because we love each other, we love the genre, we
Right.
enjoy and so reputation is really all you
Hmm.
have. And if you're
Yeah.
willing to shatter that for a $7,000 scam on Indiegogo,
Yeah.
what can I tell you?
I know exactly, and it really. I mean, now like that person, he's his career, like whether it's Indiegogo, I mean, in the indie film scene, whatever, like it's completely shattered. Like there's no coming back from that because everybody's gonna
Right?
remember this, and it's a
Yeah.
shame. It's a shame. It really is. So, going into Remnants, of course, your role was Bannon in Remnants. Now, I know I got a copy of the movie. I still haven't gotten a chance to watch it. I've been very busy with YouTube and with Gravestone Films and everything. I do want to watch it. And today's a snow day. I mean, I did work, but I would like to watch it this weekend. That would be something I would like to actually do. But how did you get that part, and what was the experience like?
Well, you can go back to what I said, which was I happened to be, well, in this case, I guess it's a little bit different. Matt Burns reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to play Bigfoot?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I want to play Bigfoot." And so I came on set to a movie that is, wait for it, titled Bigfoot. And that was Mark Byrne and Absurd Productions. And that was the first time that I had been on set with Mark. And I just took the same attitude I described for you earlier. I showed up, I knew that I was going to be in a creature costume. I did everything I possibly could. I know this sounds weird, to prepare for that role, because you really only get one shot,
Right,
again, with the indie community, to make it or break it. And if
right,
you show up and you're serious about it, even if it's being a Bigfoot in a costume, you take it as the best role and the
right,
biggest role you're ever going to get.
right.
And so, just like I said, showing up and doing that good job. And the next thing you know, I get another call from Mark, and he says, "We get two roles." And myself and a friend of mine, Matt Furman, were up for those two roles. And I took Bannon. And to add towards the whole kind of attitude that I have, when I read through the script, I said, Mark, the way that this is written is Matt's character is really the alpha male here,
Hmm.
and I think that he should probably have a few of the lines that you've given to me.
Right.
So here I am. I'm saying I'm not trying to talk myself out of a job, but it's about the movie. It's not about me. And
Exactly.
so the way that this is written, it really sounds like it's these lines really belong to him. I'm definitely more
Mhm.
of the beta. And
Right.
Mark was like, "Nope, this is the way I want it." So there you go. And
Yeah.
so I showed up on set, and I had multiple costumes. I had prepared like there was supposed to be a note on the desk, which you'll see in the movie. So I came prepared with the note on the desk. I came prepared with note paper because of the role that I had. And the character is in the beginning, you kind of meet him when he's not necessarily at the top. He's kind of on the bottom. He may be hitting the skids a little bit. And the job that he's offered in the movie gets him back on his feet, so to speak. So I came with the character in mind, where I'm dressed as the guy from the beginning where he's at the bottom, and then the next scene I'm dressing a little bit better. Did I answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. So what about like Phobias? How did you become part of the writing team on that?
So Key 13, who are some of my favorite people on the entire planet. If you haven't met them, that's right, you'll be interviewing them next week, right?
Yes, I will be. I'm excited about
Solid.
that. I met Matt Burns. I
Okay.
don't think I met the rest of them, but I met Matt Burns.
Got it. So
Yeah.
once again, I'm on a set, very small role. I'm talking, I'm on screen in that particular movie for a half a second. And the guys that are now Key 13 happen to be on the set. And I just started talking to them, doing the same thing that I did when I met you, which is, hey, this is all I want to do. Let's network a little bit. And next thing you know, I'm contacted to audition for a movie called Hoodie. It's a short, actually, and it is out. And I had a great time on set. It was one of the coldest nights of the year. It got down to, I think, 14 degrees, by the way.
Ooh.
They only like to film during cold days. So let that be a lesson to anybody who wants to do work there. So I got another call back, and we stayed in touch, and we started communicating a lot more. We found out we had a lot of like ideas. We just shared a lot of same goals, and they shot me the screenplay for Phobias, and I looked at it and I said, what exactly are you looking for? And they said, well, take a pass at it and see if there's anything you would add or whatever. And so I was like, all right, with your permission, I'm going to take a look at this. I'm going to throw some notes on. And they were happy enough with the notes to where I was pretty blown away, where they didn't say, hey, great, thanks. They said, hey, we're putting you on as a co-writer on this.
Nice.
So that was pretty awesome. And then that relationship has really expanded to where I'm also a co-writer on Serious Profession, which is another movie that they have in pre-production.
Right. Nice. So for all the films, including Phobias that you're currently involved with, that is public knowledge that you're able to talk about, do you want to tell us what each of them are and what they're kind of like a synopsis about it?
Yeah, I hate to do this to you, but because you are interviewing Key 13, I'm going to let those guys take the brunt of that, because I don't want to say anything I shouldn't say. But I can tell you the following. Okay. So just to clarify, you're looking for projects that are upcoming?
Yeah, anything that was publicly announced that you're actually allowed to talk about.
Got it. Okay, so Absurd Productions is doing Brazen Impact. That is a crime drama, and I have a small role as a police officer, but I'm also an advisor on that. We have Phobias coming up, which is looking to be a very strong movie. And again, I'm going to leave that to the Key 13 guys to tell you more about that. Serious Profession is another crime drama. And again, I have a co-writing credit on that. Same exact thing happened. I was asked to take a pass at it. I did. And they were happy with what I provided. As far as a role in that, I'm probably not going to be on screen with that one, but that's completely fine by me. Got to be happy with whatever you're doing.
Right. Exactly. And oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, and then KOA is going to be coming up with Matt Burns.
Awesome.
So that's Killed on Arrival. That is a homage to the 80s slasher movies.
That's awesome. I'm excited for that one to come out. And like I said, I'll discuss this again with Matt and his crew. I believe the interview, we're still discussing the time, but it's going to be sometime Tuesday evening.
Hmm.
And then obviously I usually upload the interviews right after. And since it's Tuesday evening and I have work the next day, depending how long the interview is and everything, it might not get uploaded till the next day because of I have to be up early for work.
I understand. Hey, I'd
Yeah,
be remiss if I didn't also throw out that we just finished up Paralyzed, which
awesome.
I got to reprise the role that I had in Hoodie of Gordon,
Hmm.
and so that is in post production. We
Awesome.
expect to probably see that. It's a short. We expect to
Hmm.
probably see that in about a month or so. I can tell you that I've seen a couple of the rough edits, and it
Hmm.
looks really, really good.
That's exciting. That's exciting. So definitely everybody keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on that, and I'll definitely be looking out for that as well. I can't wait to see these projects come to life. I'm really excited about them. So what is the biggest challenge about being part of the indie filmmaking scene?
Ah, biggest challenge. That's an interesting question.
Mhm.
I guess the biggest challenge is I'm going to throw out good and bad if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Okay.
not a
So,
problem.
all right. So the bad challenge is that since it is the indie community and we all have lives and we all have,
Hmm.
problems that come along with life, sometimes the inconsistency. I'm a big believer that if you make a promise to be on set, that
Hmm.
you are going to be on set.
Right.
And any drama should be what's being produced in front of the camera.
Hmm.
So don't come on the set with the drama. And if you say that you're going to show up, show up.
Hmm.
So that's the bad
Absolutely.
challenge. Okay.
Yep.
The, the good challenge is that every single role that I get, which I'm blessed to get and I'm fortunate to get, I don't take any of this for granted. The biggest challenge is how do I give that director, that production team, the very best value that I possibly can?
Right.
And so I come over prepared. And what I mean is that it's like bringing in bags of stuff and people are looking at me like I'm nuts. And it's like, well, this is just in case this happens. And what about that?
Hmm.
And so that would, it's a good challenge to have. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, definitely show up on set if you make a commitment. Like they'll understand if your schedule is not available, say for a Tuesday. They'll work with you on scheduling. It's the
Right.
fact that when they do schedule you when you originally agree, that you just don't go and say, "Oh, I can't make it now," like a day before when it's already been put in motion. That happened to me a lot on Samhain, and it was a nightmare because there was times that I would have at least 7 or 8 of the cast members on set, and not including the 5, 6 crew members. And I had to match all 13, 14 people at the same time to be in the same place on the same day.
But
And
at least you had the decency of people actually calling you and saying they couldn't make it. We've had
yeah.
circumstances where people just flat out did not show up.
Oof.
We're expecting them. We've never heard
Right.
from a couple of these people
And
ever again.
that's a nightmare because now it's like, okay, so this person's playing this character. How am I going to get around that and replace that? Do I have to hire somebody else? Because obviously they probably won't show up again. So it's like,
Right.
what do you do from there? It's one of those things that, now you have to cancel all of those scenes because unless somebody on set and the crew can actually fill in last minute.
Which actually happened on Hoodie is I
Mhm.
fortunately had my daughter was home from college
Mhm.
and my wife was available, so we got to make it a family affair.
Nice.
It's like,
Hey.
hey, I need two people. I need a PA and I need somebody to fill in
Mhm.
as a hoodie. And
Yeah.
they both showed up. So
Great, and I mean that's great. Like especially that's why when we did Samhain, originally it was supposed to be a web series, and I wanted it to be where it was just my friends that I could trust. And then it fell down when as a web series it crashed and burned, not because of anything bad or anything. It was just that the borough wouldn't let us film and all this different stuff. So we decided so we shut down for a couple months, and then I got Amanda and Carl. Oh, Carl wasn't in at the time. It was Amanda and Shane. And then eventually Carl came on board as our PA for the movie, and I got a bunch of people I didn't even know. and eventually it worked out, but it was a nightmare with scheduling, and I didn't know if I could trust these people. We had a casting call, so I didn't really know if I could trust some of these people or not, but eventually Carl did amazing as as a PA, which is why we promoted him to
Hmm.
be our chief operating officer for Gravestone. And I
Well,
mean, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
No, it's fine.
apologize. I was going to say the good thing about a situation is with the indie film community is that everybody on that set should be willing to do exactly that, which is, hey,
Hmm.
this person can't be here, or this person just,
Hmm.
blew us off. Somebody needs to be able to step up and do that.
Right. And like that's what Carl did a lot. Like he would take over the role as director at times, or he would take over the role as SFX when we didn't have enough blood. It was like
Hmm.
he would step into roles that he wasn't assigned to, because that's what you got to do. Like to make the it's
What
not
you
about you, and it's not about what you're assigned to do as a job. It's about, what's best for the movie. Does this movie need more blood? Does the SFX person need more help? Does, do you need another camera person because the other camera because we don't have enough angles or whatever? Like you have to, fill in with the right people, and like, elevate them. If they have to do more work
hmm
than they were originally assigned to, then so be it. Our actor
And
that played Benji, he did the camera the first night. He wasn't scheduled to film, but he showed up the first night on set from like 4 o'clock in the afternoon for, prepping everything, helping prep everything up, all the way to doing camera and clapboard and everything else under the sun, all the way until 3 in the morning, and he wasn't even scheduled to be on set.
see, he's worth his weight in gold, and that's what it should
Yeah,
all be about.
exactly. Exactly. And I gave him a lot of props for that. Like one of the best angles in the movie was his shot from day one. So I know you like we mentioned earlier, you like going to around a convention. So what's the best
Mhm.
part about the convention scene, and what do you enjoy most about being there?
So when I first started going to conventions, I was kind of a casual, I've always enjoyed horror movies,
Hmm.
okay? But I was more of a casual observer that first convention. I really didn't know what I was getting into.
Hmm.
And then over the course of the next, man, it's been 16 years now, I guess. I've went from, just enjoying the atmosphere, going and meeting some of the celebrities that were, must need,
Right.
meet, right? Throw out a shout out to Jim Crutt, who was the in Deadlands. I did my first
Hmm.
scene ever with Jim, and Jim is a personal hero because he's a wonderful human being,
Awesome.
not because of his acting abilities. So Jim is a staple, and I've gone to conventions like 4 hours away just because Jim's there. So it's an opportunity for me to kind of hang out with him.
Right.
But I pretty much have met everybody that I've wanted to meet as far as my, bucket list of
Hmm.
influences. So now what I really enjoy doing is going in there and supporting the indie community. So
Hmm.
that's how you and I met. I showed up
Yeah.
at that convention and I saw you at your
Hmm.
stand that you had, and we
Yeah.
struck up a conversation. And
Absolutely.
that's that's the fun part for me, is going in there and just,
Hmm.
supporting in any way, shape, or form I can.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the thing, like, and another thing is, like, especially like we have this trouble with sound, I'm sure, and a lot of films have this trouble, not just scheduling, because we filmed our movie in like 3 months, but also the budget. Some
Mhm.
people can't, like, they created an Indiegogo, but it doesn't get really any backers, and then you have to use your own funds. That's what happened. We didn't have any funds, and we didn't have any backers because we weren't known at the time. So
Right.
it was our first movie, and I mean, it really wasn't a good movie, but that is what all first time filmmakers make. They make their first movie to kind of get their name out there, to get a budget and to get known. And that's where you go to conventions and you meet people. And a lot of the indie films you get, some of them are going to be really good and some of them aren't going to be that great. But we go out there because we're all in that community, and we support each other. We
Right.
support each other. We don't say, "Oh, that movie was a piece of garbage." Like, you don't criticize your fellow
Yeah.
filmmakers. There's a nice way to say things, and give them constructive criticism, and support them and help them.
Yeah, you never want to be the guy that calls the baby ugly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So to really to sum up what I enjoy the most is, now every time I go to a convention, I'm seeing all the same people that I've seen over the years that I've
Hmm.
become friends with. So it's really the not to sound cliche, but it's kind of like a family reunion of sorts. You
Oh,
go in
exactly.
and it's like, haven't seen this guy in a year. Good to see him again. Haven't seen her in 6 months. Great to see her again. And then you find out, these people are online. You associate with them on Facebook, and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a tight little community. People that you may never meet in person. You're very close to online.
Exactly. And it's gonna be it's not even gonna be a family reunion after the pandemic. It's gonna be a freaking party.
Yeah, if we can ever. I think Mad Monster is going on in North Carolina right now, but
Oh, is it? Nice.
I'm not leaving the house because of the snow. So
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah, I think Laura Park Lincoln is down there. I was speaking to somebody from the indie community that I got in touch with for an interview. He's doing like a Friday the 13th fan film. I got in touch with him because of the Bad Egg crowdfunding campaign that happened, and
okay.
he would like to promote his Friday the 13th fan film. I believe
Hmm.
it's called Blood Rose or Rose Blood, something like that.
Yeah,
Sorry if I mispronounced the name. I don't have it in front of me right off the top of my head. But he said he's going to get me an interview with. He's going to ask Laura Park Lincoln after they finish filming next weekend. Or
mhm.
after they finish filming, they start next weekend, and he's also going to be on my show eventually to promote it. And
Awesome.
yeah, and and he was telling me Laura Park Lincoln was down there for Monster Mania this weekend for I guess to sign autographs and take pictures and all
Mhm.
that, promote Friday the 13th and all that, which is pretty cool. It's good
Yeah,
that they're doing some things with the pandemic, taking the safety precautions. Obviously, wear your mask and 6 feet apart and everything. Be safe and always, because you never know what somebody's going through and what their family members are going through health wise. So
absolutely.
yeah.
And I don't want to be that guy that gets somebody sick.
Exactly, same here. So, I know you mentioned to me when we were setting up this interview that you and your wife do real estate. So, you care to
Mhm.
explain about the real estate venture with everyone and how it got started, and if people need a realtor, how they can get in touch with you?
Right. Don't get in touch with me as a realtor, but I do know an awesome one in Pennsylvania I can pass you to.
Okay.
It was really kind of an accident, to be honest with
Okay.
you. What happened was we inherited a third of a house.
Mm-hmm.
And so that third of a house turned into a full house because we bought out the other two thirds, and it
Right.
was a duplex. And so that turned into some investments. And what we like to do is we like to, take properties that maybe haven't been loved as much as they should have been,
Right.
and then take those and fix them and then offer some affordable housing to people.
Awesome. That's
So it's
awesome.
yeah, it's just been something that did just really happened very much by accident.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So the last question I got for you is, do you have any
Mm.
social media, websites, or any other projects that you're working on that you'd like to promote to the listeners and viewers of this interview?
No, man, I'm totally antisocial. No, no, I'm kidding, of course. I guess officially, I am an associate of Key 13. So you can reach me through there. If you go
Okay.
to Key 13's website, they also have a Facebook presence. Friend is a very serious word to me. I don't throw that around loosely.
Hmm.
There are people that I know, there are people that I'm associated with,
Hmm.
there are people that I'm friends with. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm happy to, but I'm not going to vouch for somebody that I don't know, which is why,
Hmm.
fortunately, I didn't really get into that Indiegogo campaign we've been talking about too
Hmm.
much
Yeah.
because I didn't know that person. But I'm proud to say that out of, I don't know how many, I'm not taking account on how many on Facebook, but I'm proud to say that the number of people that are on my Facebook, the ones that I've met in person, is probably 99% of them.
Okay.
There might be three people that I haven't met in person.
Hmm.
So, but I'm always happy to talk to somebody about anything. I
Hmm.
might not be the most timely guy in the world because, of course, I am busy with everything, but
Right.
I do enjoy it, and then look forward to meeting somebody at a convention.
Awesome. That's great. And of course, I'm sure you have an IMDb page as well, right?
Do have an IMDb page. And again, one of the things that I enjoy about the indie community is promoting other people. And
Right.
so, again, love to see people be successful. And if there's
Hmm.
anything that I can do, so people have reached out and I've said, yeah, man, interview, do an audition. Here's Key
Hmm.
13, do an audition. Here's
Yeah.
Absurd Productions. talk to Matt Burns, and
Yeah.
the best I'll do for you is I can get you an audition, but
Hmm.
I'm not going to step up and say we need to hire this guy if I
Right.
don't know you personally, if I haven't seen your work.
Right.
Got to
Right.
be very careful about our reputation. So I'd advise
Exactly.
everybody to do that.
Exactly. And that's another thing. Like you can't just like say, hey, we need to hire this guy. Like you have the reason why you audition is because you might be a good actor, but you might not be good for any of the parts that are needing casting for this particular project, which is why you would audition for it to see if you fit any of the roles.
Absolutely. And one thing I would give the listeners who may be looking into getting into indie film or professional film, hopefully,
Hmm.
go out to Hollywood, go to Bollywood, make your millions, is do the audition. And then when they
Hmm.
tell you no, don't take that as a never. Take that as you're not ready for that part, or maybe you're not what they're looking for.
Right.
And then send a very gracious thank you, offer to promote that project,
Yeah.
support that project. And you know what? You get that phone call when they're looking for somebody because they remember you from that other time.
Right, and just because they told you no for that one project, like you said, they will remember you. So maybe they will have another project that comes out. They're like, that Tommy Touhey, he was really good for that. He wasn't good for that part. That wasn't what we were looking for. But we have this role that this movie coming out, and we think he'll be good for that. We want him to audition for this and see how well he fits for this role. Or they'll just give it to you because they know this role is meant for you because they know what you were able to do at the last audition that you might not have been good for that part.
Yeah. And again, to go back to something I said in the beginning, try just showing up,
Yeah.
because 90% of success is just showing up. You are going to get that role that maybe somebody else was better for, but that other person was just unreliable. And
Hmm.
you may not be the best fit, but
Yeah.
you're on set doing things that you were never asked to do. You're committed to
Exactly.
it, and you're going to be the guy that gets that role. And then take
Exactly.
that and do your due diligence and work on it and get better. And then the next role, and then the next role, and the next role.
Exactly. And one other thing I like to mention is if you're even offered a role to be an extra, no lines, but you're in the background,
Great.
take it. Take it because
Absolutely.
that gets your foot in the door and meet the connections,
Yeah. I mean,
networking.
Scotty, I don't mean to sound negative, and I hope I'm not. I hope I'm just being very
Hmm.
honest here. But a lot of people in the indie community want to be, represented by SAG, want that
Hmm.
card, and want to do big things. And you know what? Good on them, and I give them all the credit in the world.
Hmm.
But don't be too proud, like I just said a couple times, to show
Hmm.
up, be happy to be on
Exactly.
set, be that guy that's only in that movie for
Hmm.
a half a second. I've done that.
Yep.
And and I've been happy to do that because, like I said, it's a privilege and it's an
Yeah.
honor to just be involved in a
Exactly.
project.
Exactly.
And if your goal is to do bigger and better things, you've shown in that just showing up and being happy to have no lines and
Hmm.
not even really be on camera,
Right.
you're going to be in the next movie. If I don't want to keep going on this, but I really want to emphasize that
Hmm.
background actors are really the unsung heroes of the show. They can make
Yeah.
and break a production. You get a
They
guy
really
in the
can.
background who's acting like an idiot, he's going to stand out not in a good way.
Right.
If you ever
Yep.
want to see that in action, there's a movie called Copland that Sylvester
Hmm.
Stallone did years and years ago. It's one of my favorite
Hmm.
movies. At the end of the movie, there's a guy who is in a whole gaggle of people that are
Hmm.
police officers, and he purposely bounces into Stallone and he yells at him. And that guy is mentioned, and not in a good way, by Stallone in the special features. They
Hmm.
point him out. I don't know if that guy ever worked again, but that's not the guy you want to be.
Right.
And that's a background extra, a
Yep.
background actor who ruined potentially, possibly that movie and
Hmm.
potentially his career just by doing that.
Right. And also like in a good way, you have like for example, if you're in a restaurant or if you're in, a bowling alley, having just being an extra as background, you know, being a patron, a customer that's just showing like talking, but you don't hear them. Like
Mhm.
that makes a movie because it gives the flavor that you're in a populated restaurant. Nobody's gonna believe you're in a restaurant and you're the only two people there because you're the stars of the show. Like the background extras populate the vicinity just like cars do when you're on doing a street scene. You don't want to see all like, you know, no cars parked anywhere. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna look empty. It's gonna look like this is a planned production. You don't want
Right.
that. You want it to come off real.
Yeah, I've happily shown up again as a background
Hmm.
actor, and I've come solidly prepared. I've even myself and Mike Hyatt did that
Hmm.
on a film. We showed up knowing that we
Yep.
were in the background, but we had sat there and prepared our look, our actions, what we were going to do, and
Hmm.
part of it was in a bar scene. And the band that was supposed to be in the bar scene came up and they were like, "Hey, we're not playing, but you guys are like rocking your heads every time because it's like you're listening to me." And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's our job in the scene. You guys are supposed to be playing in the band and we're supposed to be
Right.
listening to the music. So even though nothing's going on," and they really didn't have any idea as to how a
Mhm.
background actor actually
Yeah.
worked, you
Right,
know?
and so, like you said, the background actor, not just even with what he did to Stallone, but in, you know, a background extra can break a movie just by, like you said, not doing what they should be doing. You know, if they're supposed to be sitting at a you know, restaurant, they're supposed to look like they're having lunch and eating, but they're just, you know, kind of looking bored like this, you know, and not doing anything. Like if that's not what the background extra is told to do, you interact, you kind of improvise unless told differently. Like, you know, you don't obviously speak out so they can hear you, but look like you're interacting with the person on the other side of the table, or look like you're eating your food. Like you want to bring, that's still a character, even though he doesn't speak. Bring it to life, make it into a character.
Yeah, I obviously never said this. Somebody else beat me to it years and years and years ago, but there are no such thing as small roles or only small actors.
Yep, exactly. Good point. Very good point. Exactly, and I completely agree with that. And I mean, if there's anything else you want to add, I mean, I think I'm good. What about you?
Hey, appreciate it. And yeah, back to the convention circuit.
Okay.
I got a story I'd like to share with you if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
absolutely. Please do.
So I was fortunate enough to go up to, I think it was Steel City, which was in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh. And
Hmm.
it was over, I don't remember what weekend, but it was one of those, 4-day federal holiday weekends. And
Right.
I get up there and the place is like a ghost town. There might have been a
Ooh.
hundred people. Yeah, it was kind of a shame. But fortunately for me, okay, that was the time where I finally got a chance to go over to meet Kane Hodder. I had introduced myself to him a couple times. He's very
Hmm.
popular. He's at the shows, and he literally had nobody near him. And so I went over and I just read his biography. Which, by the way, if you want to read something that's really interesting, read Kane Hodder's autobiography. It's fantastic. It'll really teach you a lot about him.
Hmm.
So, if you've never met Kane, and if any of your listeners haven't, Kane
Hmm.
is more than happy to interact, more than happy to take photographs, very loving of his fans. And back then, this is about 8 years ago, maybe, one of the things that Kane would do is if you wanted a picture of him, you got the option of having him choke you. All right. You ever been in this situation?
I never met Kane Hodder yet. I want to meet him.
Okay.
I only went to one convention, but I'm ashamed to say it, and it was the one I met you at, Creature Feature. I wish I
Got
could
it.
have. I
Okay.
want to go to Monster Mania and all that though,
Well, we will get you to that. All right. So
especially Hunt
back to the,
Valley.
yeah, Hunt Valley. That's the one you need to go to. All right.
Yes.
So Kane's there, and I came up to him and I said, "Hey, I really, enjoyed your autobiography. It literally did bring me to tears. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but it was
Right.
a very emotional read.
Hmm.
Not at all what you would probably expect." And
Right.
so Kane, like I said, enjoys taking pictures of people. And one of the deals back then, at least, was is that if you wanted him in character to choke you, he was actually really choking you. Okay. So we are talking, he and I, and the couple comes up and they want to take a picture with Kane. And so I
Hmm.
said, "Yeah, I'll take it for you." And so the guy hands me over this, Nikon D8000, 52 buttons, and practically need a crew of people to work this. And so I zone up on him and I'm zooming in, getting the camera ready. and I can't figure out what button it is to push, how to function this camera to take a picture of them. It's just way too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I've been fooling around with the camera for like 45 seconds, and this guy is turning purple, green, and red because Kane is choking him, right?
Oh my
And
God.
I go, oh, hey, can you let him go, Kane? I don't know how to take the picture with this camera. So the guy kind of comes to, right, from the lack of oxygen, stumbles over to me, points to the button that I'm supposed to press, and then stumbles back over to Kane and assumes the position. And Kane starts choking him again. And I got the picture, and I hand the camera to him. He couldn't even say thank you. He was just like, worn out, and he stumbles away off into the distance. So be
My
careful
God.
if you get your photograph with Kane, because I want to save you from that.
Yes. I would definitely love to have him choke me if he still does that. Not to sound, I know that came off kind of wrong, but you know what I mean. But I would love.
I'm not going to judge you, man.
But I would love, because that's an honor to be choked by Kane Hodder in that way for a picture. Like, he's Jason Voorhees, you know what I mean, among other roles that he had. Like, it's an
Right.
honor, really. And I always hate taking other people's pictures, because not only do I know how to work the buttons and all that, and like if it's a regular camera over a phone and all that, it's like, what happens if I take the picture and it's not the way they like it, or it's not the way they want it, or whatever, and I feel guilty
Oh,
that, you know what I mean?
yeah, that's easy, man. You just hand the camera back to them and say, "Are you happy with this?" And
Yeah,
if they're not, they're going to say, "Please take it again," and it's not an
right,
issue. Yeah.
right. And usually now I was at a Once Upon a Time convention, the TV show Once Upon a Time, and like they had a professional photographer for all that. You couldn't like actually
Right.
take your phone, but like when you get a picture with the celebrities. Now I met a couple celebrities before at like Creature Feature and that, and other like event like wrestling signings and that. But like when you actually meet a celebrity, like they'll let you take it like how many times until you're okay with it, I guess, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because you're paying
Yeah.
all that money to see them, obviously, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, especially when I went to Once Upon a Time, it was expensive. It was like $200 for a 5-second picture with Lana Parrilla, but it was worth it because when I got my autograph with her, she lets every single fan speak to her as long as you want, and I got to tell her the brain cancer story about my dad and how she gave me hope when he was in surgery about him getting a second chance at life and everything, and it
Amazing.
really helped me through my depression.
That is amazing. And I'll tell you
Yeah.
something, man. I guess I got to tell you another story if you got the time for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a problem at all.
All right. So, my father had lost his job. This is probably 1984, I guess.
Mhm.
Okay. And so, when I was growing up, I was always a small kid, and so
Mhm.
I wasn't into playing football on a football team. I would play,
Mhm.
two-hand touch with my buddies on the street.
Right.
So anyway, so I wasn't one to sit in front of the TV and watch football. And
Mhm.
dad was a sports guy, right? And he didn't force it on me or anything, but he really quite didn't maybe understand my enjoyment of horror. But I remember like I said, he lost his job, and he was had like a fill-in job.
Mhm.
And one of the guys at the company he was working for had kind of like a bootleg video store back in
Mhm.
the VHS days. And
Right.
so dad brought home Dawn of the Dead. Dad
Nice.
figured, hey, Tom likes horror movies, so here you go.
Yeah.
And so Dawn of the Dead, I really enjoyed it, really got into it. And of course, it's got the iconic, zombies, the helicopter zombie, the machete
Yep.
zombie, the Hare Krishna zombie, right?
Mhm.
So years later, fast forward to Deadlands 2, Jim Crutt, the helicopter zombie, has the lead, and he and that's who I get to do my very first scenes with.
Nice.
And I told Jim the story. I was like, listen, not a fanboy, that's not what I'm all about, but
Mhm.
I want to share the story with you of how I kind of, was aware of who you were. So
Mhm.
Jim and I became, honest friends after
Nice.
that. We've had the pleasure of each other's company for lunch and dinner with each other's wives and stuff. We've really gotten into that.
Nice.
So my father, who passed away a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
yesterday would have been his 91st birthday.
Oh, wow.
So there I am at my father's funeral,
Mhm.
and we're greeting the mourners who are coming in and sharing their condolences. And
Mhm.
this is outside of Philadelphia, about 2.5 hours
Okay.
away from where I am.
Right.
And I look up and there is Jim Crutt.
Wow.
Jim Crutt came all the way down from his home in, I guess, central Pennsylvania to pay
Nice.
respect to my dad, all because of our friendship, he and I.
That's
And I've
nice.
never, ever forgotten that. And tying back to it, that's who someday that I would like to be. I would think nothing better than
Hmm.
meeting somebody at a convention who happens to enjoy whatever role I've had,
Hmm.
and they tell me something very similar to your story that you got to
Yep.
share.
Yeah, and when I told her that, she was literally crying like at the table, and after like I was speaking to her for about 10 minutes, like telling her the story for about 10 minutes. I'm like, I don't want to hold you up, but I just wanted to let you know that. And it was literally my dad just got done his MRI the night before, like earlier that day or the night before. He just got his results back or something happened. And I told her
Mhm.
that I think he was it 2 years cancer free at the time? Now he's almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years this year. Um
Awesome.
yeah, but he ended up telling I ended up telling her this, and she's like, "No, you spent as much money as you did just to come here to see me and meet me. Take as long as you need. I'm giving everybody as long as they need to tell me their stories that they want to tell me." And I'm like, "Okay." She lets you tell like one story and like tell her, and you could tell her in its entirety. So I told
Mhm.
her it, and she started crying, and she looks over and is like, "Does anybody have a freaking Kleenex?" And then
You're the
I told her the story, and after she wiped her tears, and that I'm like, "Thank you." I on it. She took a picture of my book because I had her sign my book I wrote about my dad, the biographical novel called Christ Defeats Cancer, and she
Mhm.
signed it, and she took a picture of it, and she put it on her Twitter. And then she took a picture of our picture after she autographed that free of charge, even though you can only get one autograph. She autographed three things for me: the book inside with everybody else. She was the only one on the cover of the book, and then she autographed a picture with her. And then she took the picture with her phone. She put it on her Instagram story with the caption "This man" and a bunch of exclamation points. And my notifications were blowing up from all the people in the group I'm in and everything. And then like after she did all that, I'm like, "Thank you so much. I truly appreciate for to listening to me." And I walked away, and I was almost out the door. And she goes, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I told you my story." She's like, "You can't tell me a story like that and not get a hug from me." I'm like, "Oh
Oh,
my God, this is my life right now." Cause like she is my favorite actress. She is my role model. Like after like seeing her in Once Upon a Time, she played the evil queen, and
mhm.
she got her redemption story which is where what got like when my dad was getting his surgery and that I was at her redemption story where all gave her another chance at life. Now my dad's not an evil man by any means, but it was kind of synonymous with she's getting a second chance of going from evil to good, evil the villain to hero, where my dad is getting a second chance of having brain cancer and possibly dying to getting a chance at life where he was told he would only had a month to live if we didn't catch it when we did. And now it's
Man,
still terminal. It's classified as terminal. There's no cure for it. But
right.
the lifespan they gave us was a year and a half. He's going on 5 years this September.
That's amazing. And
Yes.
I will keep your dad and your family and you, of course, in my
Thank
prayers.
you. I truly appreciate it. And like I said, I'll just do a cheap plug. I have of course, the book Christ Defeats Cancer, and I have the sequel to it, Christ Defeats Cancer 2, The Battle Continues on Amazon. And of course, I have the Ultimate Halloween trivia book, the Ultimate Friday the 13th trivia book, and the second edition Ultimate Halloween trivia book all on Amazon as well. So if anybody wants that, you can also get that. But I thank you, Tommy, so much for joining me.
Hey, no, I thank you. I really appreciate it, Scotty. It's
No
great to
problem.
talk to you. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. It's my honor.
I hope I've mentioned everybody and everything that I should have because I'm so concerned that I've left somebody out. I think I'm looking at my notes here. I think I hit all the high points. So,
Not a problem. Well,
but
before I let you go, I just want to let everybody know if you're watching this, you're obviously watching the video on YouTube on the Slash the Scotty YouTube channel. So give me a subscription, obviously. Like the video if you like the interview, and comment, of course. If you want to leave a comment, I interact with all of the people that comment on my posts. And then if you're obviously listening to it and come across the video, go over to YouTube, search Slash the Scotty, and subscribe to me there. Or if you don't and you just like podcasts, and you're listening to it, then of course rate, review me on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, OpenBox, Castbox, Wooshka, Anchor. Breaker, Verbal, and any other ones that I may have missed. I'm on at least 25, 30 of them. So obviously, find me somewhere, give me a rate, review, and of course, subscribe on YouTube. And again, I thank you, Tommy. It's been an honor. I really had a pleasure meeting you back at Creature Feature. Glad we connected, and I definitely want to work with you at one point.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it, but you know, you should have sent your audition tape, man.
I
I was
know,
looking
I know.
for it.
I was so busy with like my YouTube channel. I was getting that set up, and we're very
Mhm.
close to pre-production, almost close to ending pre-production and going into casting with 72. So I was like, we've been very busy, like trying to get that out, and get that ready for a possible filming date in the summer if possible. But yeah, so I really wish I could have auditioned, but definitely keep me updated on any future auditions, and I'll be looking out for them.
Absolutely. So
Awesome.
just last thing I would sum up again to express my thanks, but back to where I said, you know, connecting with people.
Mhm.
I'm still in touch with my kindergarten teacher, believe it or not, on
Nice.
Facebook. So yeah, yeah, that's
Nice.
I was serious when I said that if I do something with you, I stay in touch with you forever.
Yep.
Still hear from Gary after all these years from
Yep.
Deadlands 2. And look where you and I have come from.
Exactly. We met one time at a convention and we added each other on Facebook, and we don't talk every day, but we are connected and we're forever family in the indie community.
Absolutely, and my
Yep.
pleasure. Hey,
Yep.
take
Thank
care
you.
of yourself and
Yep.
stay warm. Best to
Yep.
your
You
family.
do. You do the same. Thank you. And you stay safe as well with this whole pandemic.
Thanks, brother. Take care.
Yep. Yep. You too. Bye.